Okay, so we've got this functional component food list. It has this property to it that we're going to use in state called foods. We have the ability to set foods. We've told useState that the type of information is going to be a food array and that the initial state is equal to a blank array. Obviously, we're going to need to put some data in there, so we'll work on that. But now that we have this foods variable set up, this food array, right? We can actually go in and set up our structure to be able to print out this data. We can go map it. So inside the table body, I can create the same thing we've done in the past. So we can go in here and map. So we can map, go out to that foods array and map, and then we create a variable name. In this case, we'll say f lambda, and then opening brace. So in here, we can go in and say, okay, so each of these things is going to be made up of a table row. And in that table row, we want to make sure, again, like we did before, to indicate what is the unique identifier of that row. In our case, we can say the key is equal to, and then in curly braces, to indicate that it's a variable, string interpolation, we're going to go out to the f object as we're looping through. Which one are we on? And let's grab out of it the food ID. All right. Then we say the column is equal to, and then we'll just go in and put the data. So I can come in here and say f dot, what's the event name, right? Next column. F dot, what is the vendor? Or who is the vendor, I guess is a better way of saying that. Next column, F dot, what was the event, or sorry, it's food rating. Did I say event rating? Let's fix that. I think, was it event rating? That's not what's being served, right? Food rating. I did that wrong. My apologies. So in the types, we want to go to that food TS file, and this is supposed to be food rating. Save that. So now back to food list. I can use the food rating, closing brace, and now we've got the structure set up to print it out. But if we run this app, it's not going to do anything because there's no data loaded up yet. We have to go get the data from .NET to be able to set it up. But I wanted to do at least this part to show you that it's mapping. We can map it to that type that's been set up here in the TS file. So I'm actually glad I made that mistake with the event rating, because it just shows you it's pulling from that type of food, and we get a bunch of foods together objects in an array, and that's going to be our foods, right? Just like we've done, again, thinking about .NET and the things we've done before, just in full stack MVC.NET. Similar concepts here, same ideas here. Okay, so we've got this prepared to print out the data. Now let's actually go get the data from the server that's running in .NET. And so we pull the data, React pulls the data using asynchronous data calls, meaning it doesn't have to be happening with both at the same time. .NET puts it out there to use whenever React is ready. React goes out and grabs it and pulls it in when it's ready. So if .NET's not quite ready yet, React can sit and wait and then pull the data in. So it's an asynchronous process to go get the data. So the way that we do that is that we put in another const. This is going to be a function. So not just a variable, this is a whole function. And I'm going to call this function fetch food. Fetch food is going to be equal to, and then we indicate that this is an asynchronous operation. So async. And then in parentheses, it is what could be passed in if we were passing anything in. We aren't in this case. So we use the little arrow function. This again is just one of these little anonymous functions. So we're putting a function into a variable. And so in here, I'm going to do a couple things as part of this function. One is I'm going to create a const called response. And this is going to await. So go look for and just wait for till this data is ready. I'm going to call a fetch on my API. Well, what is my API? Currently it's running out there. It's localhost 7051 Marriott Food. So I'm going to grab this link, copy it, and paste it into here, but in quotes, so it knows where to go get the data. Okay, so it's going out to that same address we've typed in manually to get out there. And of course, this localhost is going to change from as we run it. And so it might be different for you than mine. It probably is different for you. So we're actually going to go make this predictable here in a minute. But for now, let's drop that in there. And then that's going to go grab the response and put it into a const called response. And then I'm going to create another const called data. And that's going to be, again, I'm going to wait for this, the response.json. So that's going to be the data that comes out. I'm going to put it into using JSON to go grab that data. I'm going to put it into a const called data. And then I'm going to call my setFoods method and pass to it the data to update my foods array. All right, I don't expect that you'll memorize this or know it right off the bat, but hopefully we're starting to understand what's happening. I make an asynchronous call. I go grab the data, put it into a response. I take that data and convert it from to JSON, right? And then drop that in my data. Then I can set that foods object using the setFoods to store the new data. And then I can call my fetchFood method. All right. So will this work? Let's try it. npm run dev. You can tell by my skepticism this is not going to do anything. Oh, well, it's not going to do anything for another reason. Let me close that. We'll leave the server running. I need to actually put this food list component in somewhere. So in my app TSX, where I'm loading up what the page looks like, then I'm going to take all this out, get rid of this, this extra code we don't need, get rid of the Vite logo and React logo and state. We don't need any of those things. But I do want to drop in here my food list object so that we can see it. Okay, I'll save that. Go back to my app and also it's saying Vite React TS. Let's go put in here in our index.html. Let's change that title to say full stack fun. Save that. Save everything as a matter of fact. Okay, so go back to our page and we can see the full stack fun showing up, but no data. And not even our heading or anything. There's nothing showing up on this page. And so that's a little bit of a problem, right? Well, it's not grabbing the data correctly. And I wonder if we do the F12, are we seeing some errors? And that's not the error I was expecting. I mean, I guess it's probably a good idea after I've saved all this. Let's close VS Code and reopen it. And let's run this new. So I need to cd into the front end folder, npm run dev to pop this up. And we're still not getting the data. Now this may have to do, I mean, we do have a problem. I don't know that, maybe, I guess we ought to look at the other thing I know about and see if that solved this thing. I don't know why it's not showing this particular element to us. Okay, let's go fix the other problem though, which is this idea of security. We don't just want any website being able to go into any website and grabbing whatever. There is some security to this, and so there's a concern here, do we want these two things talking to each other? And that's what we have to solve, which we'll do in the next video. Spencer out.